just kind of commingle with it, possums. They don't bother nothing here.
Start with a Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Monday, March 10th, 12:30 p.m. Start off with public forum. Anybody from the public like to make any public comment, or anybody online? Anybody online? There's a hand feature.
Yeah, I think, public comment? Go ahead and say it. You just consider, just say it right there.
First of all, I'd like to, what, say again?
You can stand if you want. We just provide a chair.
I'm not gonna be talking long. First of all, I'd like to thank the commissioners. I don't think the road that I live on, the Indigo, has ever been in better shape than what it's in now. And I've lived there 82 years off and on. And so I really thank you for the good road.
Gonna get you to state your name for the people.
Jim Truax, 939 Indigo.
Very good. Thank you.
I do have a concern. That's the reason, one of the reasons I'm here today, is that some of our neighbors have signed up for the turbines. And I'm concerned because one of them is, joins our small 80 acres on the south and one on the, just a little bit more, but on the east. And I'm concerned about how far the setback will be, because on the south, there's no way that it can be, because we live less than a half mile from where there's other houses on the other way. I'm just concerned about that. The other, just that it's a family farm, only 80 acres, but we'd like to keep it to where it is not too much bothered by other things. So we're just concerned about that. The setback of the wind farm is a big deal. I know some places I've read on internet, it's up to 2 miles away. Some places it's not so much. So that's all I have to say. But I really thank you for the good job that you're all doing. And thank you.
Extend that thanks to Road and Bridge. Anybody else, either in the room or online? Got one back here.
My name's Gene Pearson. I'm from Burns, and they're getting ready to have a city cleanup there, which is neither here nor there. But I do some demolition and have a roll-off dumpster truck. And when I spoke with Butler County, they said they won't accept out-of-county waste at $37 a ton, which is what the Butler County residents pay. When I spoke with the gentleman at the transfer station in Marion County here, he says $50 a ton, and which is okay. But I asked where they send it, and he said it goes to Butler County. And I'm in it right in the middle, and I don't care. It's a wash for me. But how well was this plan thought out? I understand there's a lot of windshield time from further northwest in the county, but just a thought on that. Rather than I could haul it down there and save $15 a ton perhaps, and not have to haul it up here for the county taxpayers to pay to haul it back there. Got some other ideas, but and last year I own an airplane that I've had for about 30 years that 2 years ago on Mother's Day, a friend of mine had borrowed it and it was uninsured, and he died in the wreckage May 16th of whatever the year before last was. And the FAA and NTSB did an investigation and determined, it's just one of those things, common business. And after I'd hauled the wreckage home and and all of that, then the FAA sent me a registration for that airplane. And about a month later, I got a letter from the county with their handout on that. So anyways, just, oh, and excuse me, just one more thing. On commercial trucks where like supposed to renew tags February, March here, there's nobody in this office that has the capability of renewing a commercial truck tag. And that is their responsibility. I've been stopped by highway patrols. It's a regular thing for anybody that drives a truck. And it's a state thing, but the county is responsible for tagging these vehicles. And your employees here are not capable of doing it. And other counties don't want to do it. They shouldn't have to. Apparently, that's the way they're doing it now, but just saying. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, we'll close the public forum. Move on to the agenda approval. Anybody have any corrections or additions to the agenda? Hearing none, move forward as the agenda is approved. Administrative business. Ashley.
We have March 3rd meeting minutes.
Everybody had a chance to review the minutes? Questions or concerns? Corrections? If none, I move to approve.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sorry.
Next are some change orders.
Anybody need this?
All right, next we have early checks in the amount of $43,198.41.
Anybody got any questions with any of that?
Do we owe any more on the time clock system, or does that take care of it?
We will have, I believe, that is a replacement of a check that we never received that was issued previously. So yes, there will be another amount that we'll be paying on that upgrade.
I noticed there was a lot of emails this week from other counties wanting to know what people were doing with their time clock issues. Also, the gas purchases, I guess, were outside of the bid. All of the gas purchases that were listed there were outside of the bid amount.
Wagger Trails.
Hold on. Those are, so we do bids for transport fuel and area fuel for our tanks. But we also have, operators that go and get fuel at the pumps, and then there are other charges that are part of what we pay to them. So this would be, these are not,
Outside of the bid.
I believe so, yes.
Any other questions? Hearing none. Move that we pay the early checks in the amount of $43,198.41.
Second.
Second, motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
And then there was in your packet just an updated list of the encumbrances. If you guys do want to close that out, we are done with it.
Make a motion. Close out the encumbrances.
I'd second that.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0.
That is all I have.
Anything?
I do.
Oh,
Do we have to approve the EMS charge-offs?
Yes, that's part of mine.
Oh,
Yep.
sorry.
That's okay.
Didn't mean to get ahead of you.
No problem. So in the packet, you have my report. The upcoming events are on there. One of those is the Health Department ribbon cutting, which is on the 31st at 10 o'clock. Also, one thing that I need to check in with you about is on March 27th, which is a Thursday. That'll be the last session for our youth leadership program. And in the past, we have brought them in to have a meeting with the Board of Commissioners. So I just kind of wanted to see if you would be open to have a special meeting on the 27th. I don't know the time yet of when that would work. It's basically a short meeting to just meet the kids and have them ask questions and learn a little bit more about what you all do.
Not seeing any opposition, so move forward.
Okay? I will let you know as soon as we have that and what the timing of that would be. And then on the 31st, we do have this celebration, and that's gonna be in Hillsborough. I'll have to get the exact address. There's a venue over there that we're utilizing. And it'll be in the evening, and so all of you will be invited to that as well. So in your packet, I do have write-offs for the EMS department in the amount of $1,452.47. This is not a full quarter worth, but it's significantly less than what we have been writing off in the past. So we need to approve that by a motion and vote.
I'll make a motion to approve the EMS write-offs in the amount of $1,452.47.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
Thank you.
If you get one, they don't know you.
Our health department grant applications are due this week, and Krista has sent me the projected numbers for our different grants. So the immunization action plan, approximate amount is $3,181. The public health emergency preparedness is $14,607. State formula grant, $21,387. Chronic disease risk reduction is $30,866.80. So the projected total grants that Krista is applying for and would like authorization to proceed is $70,051.80.
Make a motion to approve proceeding with the applications of 70,000. I guess I don't need 70,000,
Yeah, it's projected. It might be slightly different than that, but
because we'll have to motion to accept it.
yes, you will.
$70,051.81. A second. Got a second? Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0.
Thank you, though.
So used to it.
Okay, and then the last thing that I have in the packet was the laptop replacement for the emergency management deputy. And similar to what we did for the mapping department, this one is a higher level of capability than just the normal office computers. And so I've given you the information, the quotes, and the recommendation from Lloyd. And they are looking at the highlighted one, which is the I guess it's an MSI Titan. And the total amount on that is $5,383.50.
Is there any kind of special insurance, theft or damage or anything for that, since it's a higher price piece of equipment?
Well, we have it like just under our
You know,
yeah, I did not ask. I can find out.
Titan appears to be American made.
Do they come with like a 1-year warranty or any kind of warranty, do you know?
I do not know the answer of that either.
30 miles for 30 minutes, 30 miles for 30 minutes.
30 minutes?
Most of the time when you purchase an electronic, I mean, a lot of times you have the ability to add a protection plan onto it,
Separate.
but it would be separate.
Got the highest memory. Got one of the highest graphic cards.
Right, and that's because of the mapping that they would need,
It doesn't have,
and radar.
it doesn't have a tariff.
This will be used in the
Highest
storage
storage
field,
size.
some too.
Yeah.
Not just an office.
No,
Does emergency management currently have a computer capable of working in the field to serve as this mobile operations center?
not this level.
What was the second quote? There's two quotes there, so I just,
Oh, well, so those were just the documentation of that one is the, Fury G11,
oh, okay.
and it's listed on the
Yeah.
front.
Does Marcy handle all the training on some of this sophisticated stuff herself, or is there any additional training that is needed, you know?
They primarily are using it for mapping and for, like, they're not creating new maps necessarily, but they're pulling up maps, pulling up radar and different programs. And so it's a lot of it is internet based, so I don't know that there's a need for specialized training.
Okay. I didn't know if there was some kind of specialized inputting they have to do or anything.
I'm looking at the rest of the prices once you factor in the total cost,
Mm-hmm.
other than the one other one that is pretty inferior.
Right, the low one is probably not really gonna cover what they need.
As far as the high grades, this is the cheapest one, so I'll make a motion to approve.
How long has she had her, I'm taking for granted she has one that's already has all that capabilities.
She has one, but she's using an external hard drive on. It's not quite as powerful as this one. So the idea is that it'll replace the deputy's current computer, plus also be have enough capabilities to be to handle the mobile operations.
Make a motion to move forward with the MSI Titan in the amount of 5,500. Or no, 55, 66, 45.
It's
Oh no,
$53,8350.
She had budgeted for that, correct?
Yes.
I'll second it.
yes. Motion in a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. So good. Yeah,
Okay.
I was reading the wrong quote.
That's
It was the higher one.
all right. Okay, I believe that is all that I have.
So. Passed, but it's Isaac out in the hall.
Yeah.
Man of the hour.
Brian, he'll probably. He's the engineer. Maybe not.
All right, so we're here today and Brian is on the call, to talk about, a flow reader for our, auxiliary spillway. Yes, to measure that water that is coming out of that, flow pipe there. So back in November, Brian sent me a device to measure the water that is coming from that pipe. according to the permit that we received from the state, twice a year, starting this year, we have to pump that stilling basin out, read the amount of water that's coming out of that pipe, submit that off to the state. And then 5 years from now, so between the dates of May 1st, 2028 and April 30th of 2029, we're gonna have to do one of those full inspections where they bring the little car out with the cameras and do a full inspection of the tube and the tower there. Once that is complete for the first time, instead of having to do these inspections twice a year, it drops down to once a year, for the foreseeable future. That device that was sent was the Pulsar Gray Line Man Array. It is a portable device that runs off battery, so we can just take it down there, put that device in that tunnel. When it's all pumped out, it reads the flow of the water coming out of that tube. We submit that off to the state. I know there was talk about maybe looking into a different option as far as maybe a permanent structure downstream or down on the backside of that stilling basin. Talking with Brian about it, not saying that it would not be a possibility, but the concern is, according to this permit, that flow has to be measured directly at the outflow of that pipe. So if something downstream from there would to be even an option, that would have to be something that would be discussed with DWR and approved by DWR before, I guess, we looked any further into that. But that's kind of where we're at now. We have to do this twice a year. Trying to look at possibly doing it sooner than later, because the other thing about it is if we have to get that measurement directly from that tube, we're gonna have to do it when the water's lower than those windows in that tower, because there's gonna be no way to get those readings if the lake comes up and that water is running through that tower, so.
DWR doesn't maintain any of that kind of equipment that you can use on a rental type basis, and so another unfunded mandate.
Yeah, and we're looking, it's a little under 6,700 for that device. They make a very similar device, which is pretty much the same thing, but it's supposed to be hardwired in, and we just don't have that capability down there on the backside of the dam.
So you have to do it twice a year. And the water, it can't be any other water going through the structure.
Correct.
How often, how big of an issue is that gonna be down the road? We've been extremely dry for the last several years. It may not be an issue, but if we get into more normal, what happens if that never?
So I'll say, what do I wanna say? If we have a major flood event, for example, and that water begins running over not the primary spillway, but our emergency spillway.
No, I'm talking about just, you have to measure it. There can't be any water running through the primary spillway
Correct.
to measure it.
Correct.
And for the last couple of years, that hasn't been an issue because it's been dry.
Yeah.
What happens when we get to a more normal moisture scenario? And I would imagine there's years where that has never quit running.
Well, and there are years to where, we might have to severely look at our dates. I don't know with the fluctuation there, but once the water gets above that primary spillway window, that water is constantly flowing into that tower until it's back below that level. So unless we're constantly getting rains throughout the year, it will eventually come down to the bottom of those windows and quit running into that tower. If you get a major flood event, I'm gonna say it's maybe a month, if a month. It might even be a little less than a month before that water is back down to where it's not running into those windows of that tower. And as long as it's below those windows and it's not coming into the top of the tower, we'll be fine to pump that stilling basin out. So you might have to play with your dates as when you do that, depending on where the water level is, but I mean, in the 7 years I've been there, I've never seen it to where we've gone a full year with it constantly running into those windows. Is that a possibility? I mean, it very well could be, if you had a lot of rain, you know, which is possible. But, I mean, unless it's constantly spaced out, I don't know what they would say, you know, I mean, we'd have to call and explain the situation to them. I don't know what DWR would say if it was constantly running through, so we just can't get a reading, because unless we got a lot bigger pumps than what we've been using, there would be no way for us to pump that stilling basin out on the backside if there's water coming through the top. We would never be able to get the water exiting out quicker than it would be coming in, but. And Brian is on this call if you guys have any questions for him.
It's a little bit off topic, but the stuff that they were gonna make us do downstream, that
Yes.
is
Egged.
okay.
Yeah, and that this permit
So this,
that they issued, this was kind of the contingency, okay? They said, after doing that survey, they said, okay, you know, we asked them to scratch that because it was gonna be far more work than originally thought. And they said, okay, we'll not make you guys do this downstream excavation, but in return, this is what we're gonna need done. And so until we do that 5-year full inspection, we would be required to do this minor flow reading twice a year. And then once we did that full inspection and after the 5-year period, it would drop it then down to only once a year.
as far as cost evaluations, this is apples and oranges to what they did have us.
Which is very true. I listened in on your last meeting. I called the company that has this device and, you know, just kind of ask questions. So realistically, like he told me with our application here, he said, you know, they can't guarantee anything, but he said realistically, you're gonna be looking at a 10-year plus lifespan on this device. He said it's almost think of it as like a cell phone or a laptop. The more you use it, depending on how you store it, whatever you wanna say, that might affect it a little bit, but like with our application, we'd have it out twice a year. Besides that, it would sit in a office.
Is it a battery system, is it
So this one is a battery, it's a
removable, rechargeable?
rechargeable.
So it's, they're inside the unit.
Yes, correct. There are lithium batteries inside that
You have
unit.
to send it in to have the batteries replaced.
Yes, after about, and like he said that they have one right now that they've been using for 12 years and they haven't had any issues. You brought up, I think it was you, Kent, that brought up the calibration.
Yeah, I was just wondering, does that
Yes.
have to be certified every so long?
So what he said is normally that depends on the agency that's having you do this. He said if for whatever reason, he said a lot of times kind of like the running standards, normally about every 2 years. They might ask you to say, hey, especially if you get a weird reading. But he said a lot of times they'll give you it and they won't require any calibration to be done unless, you know, you do get a reading and something doesn't seem right. He said if you do want to get it calibrated, you send it back to him. He said it runs about $400 to get it factory recalibrated and sent back. So that, I mean, that is potentially another expense that would come along with that. But he said talking to the state, whether they would require the county to do that every so often or not, he said, but typically that is who that would be up to. But he said 2 years is normally about the standard.
But just expected.
Yeah.
Anybody else got any other questions about this topic? If not, I'll make a motion to proceed with the $6,300 allowance.
Isn't it closer to 60? Did you say it's 67 something?
It was right, yeah, 67, yeah.
So we had last week was 6,300. So, all right.
Can you hear Brian?
No.
He just messaged me, he said I think he's trying to talk.
I can hear you in the hallway, but I can't hear you in the room.
Is your TV turned down, your sound in here?
see you trying to talk. Through over here.
Up to 6,700, I guess.
You finding that estimate, Isaac?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gina, did I send that over?
Yes, let me look for it. I thought it was 67.
So did I.
Brian said not a big deal unless you guys have questions. He said you're free to vote.
Tell him thanks for the permission. We'll ask him next week.
He didn't have much to say.
Well, I know talking with him, because I did talk to him after the last meeting here, and that was his big concern, was just that if we wanted to go forward with something else, would just be having to have that conversation with DWR, because according to their plan here, that measurement would have to be taken directly from that pipe. It couldn't be down on the backside of that stilling basin.
So that wasn't budgeted for the year. Is that gonna have an adverse effect on your budget?
I mean, there were some things that we wanted to do that we might not be able to do, but I mean,
Not having to excavate downstream.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, compared to the,
Well, yeah.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, we can make it work.
I started to, then my number wasn't, so I withdraw my motion.
You were right, it's 6,285.
Should've left my motion.
Well, hold on, that's the front page, let's see if it changed on any, nope,
I think that was-
6,285.
So moved to approve an allowance.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. I was right.
You were right.
It'll be tax or something, we'll have to approve, wait, or
No.
county entity.
That was all I was here for today, unless you guys have any other questions or anything for me.
Everything's quiet at the lake, huh?
Well, for now, we're starting to get ready. We're turning our water on today, so it's probably about to change.
Campers have showed up this week.
All right, thank you guys.
Ken Olson? Oh, Ken Olson,
We'll see what happens. Yep, he's here.
Fleet Management.
We're ready for you.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Doing well. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for having me. Well, my name's Ken. I'm with Enterprise Fleet Management. Been working with Tina and Sheriff and all of the staff for quite some time, so certainly appreciate you having me out this afternoon.
Yep.
Well, from an agenda standpoint today,
Turn his car on.
I did both.
well, from an agenda standpoint today, wanted to walk through a high-level overview of who we are and a few of the core areas of our program, and then dive into the vehicle and operational sides of the program, and certainly walk through the vehicle strategy and analysis that we've put together. I've been working with the team for about 6 months to a year now, and have met with all of the various departments and kind of worked through them with them and built out the vehicle strategy. But just from a big picture standpoint, we are the same company as Enterprise Mobility. You're probably familiar with us from an enterprise rental car standpoint. Same family. We actually just changed our name after about 65 years to Enterprise Mobility, and the reason we did that was everyone knew about us for our rental car brand, and we have all these different business lines around our parent family, and now we leverage that infrastructure. So from a big picture standpoint, we leverage the tools, the resources, the people, and everything that we own and operate from having a few million vehicles out there to help entities like yours with what we consider small to medium-sized fleets save money and operate more efficiently and effectively. From a role structure standpoint, my position is really getting the partnerships established. So working with the team to figure out what pieces of the program would be a good fit, designing and customizing the vehicle strategy, the financial structure around your entity, working with the various different department heads. I was in a commissioner meeting this morning, kind of getting the partnerships established, if you will. From there, I cover the whole state of Kansas and about half of Missouri. From there, I have local client strategy managers. Justin Harper is one of our client strategy managers who is out of the Wichita area. He works with a lot of the entities right in this area. But his role, he covers pretty much Salina on out to the Colorado border, and he meets with all of our entities typically about 4 or 5 times per year. With these meetings, with you guys being calendar year, we'd come out January, February time frame and do an annual client review to show what we did over the last budget year, financially, operationally. And then the second and third meetings are really probably right now, we're gonna start planning, a lot of our entities are planning for 26. But we really base all of our meetings around your budget year to help the team prepare the budget and then have these vehicles coming in and out at the right time. So core piece from a role structure standpoint is we're here for a partnership, not just here to sell some vehicles and walk away. All of the entities that we partner with will tell you we're there on a very regular basis. From a flexibility standpoint, every entity partners with us a little bit different. So just to give you an idea from an operational and a strategic perspective, a few different counties, Cherokee County, Crawford County, Geary, Ellis. With these few entities, they only use us for what I consider the vehicle side. So purchasing, upfitting, funding of some sort, and then resale. City of Lyons, City of Hillsborough, Great Bend School District. With these entities, they use us for that vehicle side, but they also use us for maintenance, for fuel, telematics. So all of that is customized around your entity, and even down to the department level, sheriff's side might look a little different than road and bridge or versus appraiser or whatever it be. So it's extremely customized, and we do have the Sourcewell Purchasing Cooperative Award, so you can piggyback off all the different pieces of our program, and it's very customized around your entity. Same goes for the vehicle strategy and how we implement this program over the years. City of Lyons and City of Hillsborough, just partnered with them in the last year. With both of these entities, we got really aggressive and we flipped out majority of their fleet, if not all of their fleet, right out of the gate. City of Salina, years ago, I did a 3-year implementation, and over 3 years, we fully implemented their 150-ish vehicles. With Shawnee County, we did a 5-year implementation. So again, we'll work with you from a budget standpoint. This model, vehicles change every year. A lot of things change, but and we may have to do some revisions since we plan this out even. But from that standpoint, it's very flexible, and we can accommodate any budget and work with the team to organically implement this, and whether it's really aggressive or very streamlined. Last piece before I dive in a little bit. Typically, the biggest area of opportunity in the government space is reducing the budget, doing more with less, and then getting in and out of the vehicles at the right time. So to give you an example of this, I was Unified Government, which is Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, out of Kansas City. We've got like 3 different buckets for them. So their street department trucks, we rotate those out at 12 months. Okay, so F-250s, back 4 or 5 years ago, I was buying that truck for about $32,000, kind of your standard, extended cab, 4x4, road and bridge type truck. We were buying that truck for about $32,000, leveraging the equity lease, funding that vehicle to a remaining balance of $25,000, and then I was selling them after 12 months for about $50,000. So they paid $7,000 in their budget, and then we'd write a check for $25,000 when that vehicle was sold. That money went into an equipment reserve fund, and it paid for the next year's budget of $7,000, $8,000. So in that structure, they had a $0 budget pretty much forever because of that type of philosophy. Now, a lot of those trucks, we've moved those, extend those out. Incentives have changed, the resale has changed. So a lot of those trucks are ran 36 to 60 months now, but there's still a right time to get out of that specific vehicle. Moving over to the emergency response space with their pursuit type vehicles. We've got their Traverses set up at 24 months, their police interceptors at 36 to 60 months. All different mileage patterns, all different vehicles, but that's why I have that team meeting with them on a regular basis to analyze when's the right time to get out of that specific unit based upon the incentive, the aftermarket equipment, the mileage patterns, and our knowledge of the industry. So that equity lease model is what majority of my government entities leverage to reduce the budget and do more with less. Ton packed in there. Any questions before I dive into the vehicle side?
Seeing none.
Well,
Absolutely.
I get ahead of the horse, but do you do like a cost benefit analysis for every department, or is it enterprise wide?
So we've done that for every department. And we strategically looked at just those different departments. So we did the first model big picture, and just to kind of give you some high level overview of that part of it. And that this was in that fleet synopsis that I put together, but we looked at 50 vehicles for the county as a whole. The average age was 12.3 years. We had 24 vehicles over 10 years of age, 12 over 20 years of age. Our average cycle pattern was 17 years, and through the analysis, we were recommending a 4-year cycle pattern. With that model, over the next 10 years, there was a $101,000 savings opportunity. Now that will change. That's not a huge amount of savings given 50 vehicles. It's very conservative from a model perspective, but simply going from a 17 to a 4-year cycle, we really don't have to save a tremendous amount just given the safety, the image, the downtime, the employee morale, the retention, recruiting, all those things that come with that change in philosophy. And then from there, we broke it down with I met with each of the department heads, and in that strategy worksheet, which looks similar to this if you saw that piece, and it's in that synopsis.
I haven't sent them anything.
Gotcha. So we did that with each of the departments, and we looked at, okay, if we sell for, just to give you an example here, for aging, we sell their 2 vans, we bring in 2 Pacificas, we would sell those vehicles for an estimated $15,000. And then their annual cost for the next 12 months would be $18,000 plus any aftermarket equipment. So we did that for each of those so that they can prepare their budget. And maybe we can do that, maybe we can't do that, maybe we can leverage that equity. There's a lot of different conversations in there, but yes, to answer your question, a little long-winded there, but yes, we did that.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you were gonna update anything, or if you were bringing something with you.
Absolutely, and these numbers are still true because we're in the 25 model year still. We're right up against that cusp where some of these will start to change to the 26 model year. We're still in your 25 budget, so there's a lot of things to consider from this year's budget. Typically, the first couple of years are the lightest budget, considering that if we ordered a vehicle today, we wouldn't see it for 3 to 6 months down the road, and you don't start paying for that vehicle until after it delivers. So plus the equity from the sale of the vehicles. To give you an example, or just kind of give you an overview on the acquisition side, essentially any way that you can imagine purchasing a vehicle, we have a solution for it. So we have the largest used inventory in the country. We have 1 million plus rental cars, plus all of our fleet management vehicles. I do not recommend that for my government entities, but we'll always have that available. One of my counties, Wichita Public Schools, we do all their vehicles, and their SRO units for the police, they had a couple of those come off lease. We moved them over to a county because they had a deer or whatever it be. We have the largest dealer network. We deliver vehicles to Hillsborough Ford. We buy from dealerships on a daily basis on both sides. We have rental facilities, maintenance providers. We bought from 15,000 last year, so we have a massive network. Again, if Sheriff hits a deer or there's an engine blows on the road and bridge side or whatever it be, we have those two solutions available, more for that reactive or immediate need. About 95% of our vehicles in the government space are ordered direct from the manufacturer. So as we've done in this example here, we sit down, we spec those vehicles out. We have every make, every model, Ford, Ram, GM, of course, Nissan, Toyota, Tesla, whoever you can think of. We order those vehicles, we get them upfitted with the various different aftermarket vendors, and then we get them delivered to you ready to go. So again, any way you could imagine procuring a vehicle, we have a solution for it. As that new vehicle delivers, we'll pick up the replacement vehicle, whether it's a county-owned vehicle or it's an enterprise vehicle down the road, and we will sell that vehicle on your behalf. About 15% of our vehicles are sold through our Manheim auction channel. Those are the vehicles that are 20 years of age, 10 years of age. As we get into the enterprise model and some of your newer vehicles, those units, that 85%, are sold direct to our wholesale and franchise buyers that buy over 1 million vehicles every year between our enterprise rent-a-car and the fleet unit side. So through going through that direct channel, we're typically bringing about 10 to 15% above commercial value index or auction value, simply meaning we sell these vehicles very well. We're handling the logistics, and then we're always analyzing when's the right time to get out of that specific unit. Questions on the acquisition or resale side?
So you don't just acquire, you also administrate all of that.
Yes, sir.
So we don't spend a lot of employees' time trying to analyze, well, this one needs to come off and that needs to be, you guys take care of all that.
Absolutely.
Third-party charges.
So as we put those two components together, then we figure out how do you want to pay for the vehicles. We, again, have essentially any way that you want to pay for them, we have a solution. We have a net lease model. I do not recommend this for our government entities. There's fees, there's penalties. We keep the equity. It's more of a retail type model. We have a self-fund model that allows you to pay cash. We leave it on our books for $1. We're handling all the license and titling, registration, renewals. When we sell the vehicle, we have title. If we sell for $30,000, you get $30,000 less that $1. Again, in the government space, almost all of our entities are leveraging the equity lease. The equity lease is a bank finance down to a remaining balance, and then when we sell that vehicle, you get the equity. So if we fund it from 40 down to a remaining balance of 20,000 over X amount of years, and then we sell for 30, you get that $10,000 of equity. There is no over mileage penalties, no wear and tear penalties, no early termination penalties. It's all based around the equity of the vehicle. So this morning and every other commissioner meeting, the question is, how do we get out of this partnership? How do we get out of this specific vehicle? Whatever that looks like. And if we're at 36 months and we need to get out at 12 months for whatever reason, we can do that. We pay off the remaining balance. We'll give you the title. We sell that vehicle. We'll give you the equity. You don't have to replace it. The reason we have that flexibility in that equity lease model is so that if the market's very strong, like it has been over the past few years, we can get out early. If we go into recession or the market crashes or whatever it be, we can extend those vehicles out longer and run them from 36 to 48 to 60 on out. So it gives us that flexibility to do whatever you need to do at every point, but that's where our team is meeting with departments on a regular basis to analyze when to get out of that specific.
That was a question I had, you know, if you normally recommend to a department, oh, you need to roll your vehicles at 36 months or 48, and we got a whole bunch of vehicles with 30,000 miles on them, you know, can we just continue that?
Absolutely, and it's going to change. What we recommend today and what I put in this model will absolutely change. It's going to change every single year. Incentives were out extremely high a while ago, and then they dropped. The resale market was ridiculous, then they dropped. So it's an ever-changing industry, an ever-changing market, similar to the stock market, and that's why we always are analyzing when's the right time, and that's why we meet with you so frequently. And that's also why we don't recommend in the big picture model that you use that from a budget standpoint. That's why we go through that exercise with the departments to make sure that the budget's precise, and then we'll reevaluate around your budget preparation timeline every single year.
So you're just talking about regular highway vehicles, you're not talking about heavy equipment like dump trucks and stuff that we use?
We can. We do a lot of 750s, 650s, 550s, dump bodies, crane bodies, utility beds. All the sheriff's vehicles are in here. The only thing we won't do is an ambulance, a big red fire truck, yellow school bus. And then once we get into the graders and such, it's really not our bread and butter. I just did a couple $100,000 truck for another entity. We can help with those, but you're gonna run those a little bit longer. Really in this model, the 550s on down is the bread and butter, and that's really where you got about 50 vehicles in that segment. Operationally, you guys currently outsource your maintenance to the local vendors. Our program fits very well with that. We have 3 different options the way you can do your maintenance. Number 1, you can keep us out of it completely. You do not have to use our maintenance programs. Given that you already outsource most of the time, it does make sense. Through Sourcewell, our maintenance management program is $6 per month per vehicle. I can apply that to all 50 vehicles right out of the gate, day one, regardless of age, regardless of mileage, pursuit vehicles, whatever it be. With that program, I go to Hillsborough Ford, local vendor, whoever I'm using. I give them my maintenance card. That shop works with our ASE certified technicians. We make sure it's the right maintenance, right interval, negotiated pricing. We pay the bill wherever they go. You all get one monthly consolidated bill, broken out per department. That data goes into the website. You can see every single transaction. That flows through to my team's tool. So now I know the vehicle side, but I also know your maintenance costs. We leverage that in our analytics to help you make good decisions based upon that hard data on when to get out of these vehicles. As the enterprise vehicles arrive, we have a fixed and budgeted full maintenance program that is designed around that specific vehicle. You got vehicles that are 3,000 miles and vehicles that are 50,000 miles per year. So we customize it around that specific vehicle, the holding pattern and the mileage pattern, but it's fixed and budgeted for the duration of the term. So preventative maintenance, oil change, tire rotation, air filter, you blow an engine and it's out of warranty, all of that's covered 100%. So keep us out of it, pay as you go, fixed and budgeted. We do not apply that fixed and budgeted program to a full out patrol vehicle. Tahoe Police, the PIU, the Durango Pursuit, with those type of vehicles, we do not apply that full maintenance program, but every other vehicle we do. The biggest benefit, selfishly, is the data that we receive from that so that we can help you guys make good decisions.
Are all your vehicles that you would provide, are they linked up in some way so you're getting current data, or are you just waiting on maintenance schedules to get data?
So we also have telematics devices through Geotab. The devices are free, the harness is free, and then the Pro Plus bundle is $19.50 a month. So from that perspective, if we have that, all that data flows into our system. We did not get too in the weeds on that conversation, but that also keeps the odometers continuously up to date. That speaks to the maintenance program. And it also speaks to our fuel program. I know that you have bulk fueling right now. If you ever wanted to implement, I know we kind of got in the weeds a little bit there. If you want to implement the WEX fuel cards through our system, they're free, no upfront cost, no monthly cost. All 3 of those programs speak to each other in the website and then flow through to our system. So the more of those programs that we have, and I mentioned the Lions, the Hillsborough, the Great Bend, we get that data. With some of the other entities, Cherokee, Crawford, Geary, we don't get that data. So either way is okay, but we want to base it around your need and what's impactful. And it can change over the years, right? We can always add or subtract those programs based around your needs.
So it's an add-on, I just making sure it's not automatically on there and then we have other feelings going on, so.
Correct. Everything is customized around what you need, and that's every single piece in our structure is mapped out through that Sourcewell cooperative. I did give that along with the contracts to the attorney, so all of that stuff is mapped out in the Sourcewell cooperative and kind of all a la carte. Yes, sir.
Would you keep track of the driving records, how the vehicle is driven?
From an employee standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, probably can't keep the employee, but different people drive, but this one vehicle was used.
So a couple different, we actually do have motor vehicle reporting and driver monitoring through, so we have Samba Safety and Driving Dynamics. So we do have a couple programs there. If that's something that you would like, we continuously pulls motor vehicle reports. And then if you have those telematics devices, there's a check-in, check-out feature from a pool standpoint, so you know who used it, when they used it, all that stuff. The WEX fuel cards, if we go that route, they're tied to the driver. The card is tied to the vehicle, but then the PIN code is tied to the driver. So if I go and abuse the fuel, put too much in, you would know who used it, where they used it, and how much. So there is a lot of reporting and a lot of safety. But again, that's customized around what you want and what you need. We can do, there's a lot of different conversations in there. We can customize it to your need.
I've had people look for transmissions and nobody else does, and another person went for brake pads all the time.
Absolutely. Yep. And that's things that we're watching. I will say, by updating the fleet and getting the fleet in a healthy condition, you're going to see much less of that. And from my experience, I see a lot of morale impact with having these newer vehicles, and a lot of that goes away. But there's always going to be issues, and there's always challenges, and that's again conversations that we're going to be having, and can adjust it as you need.
So what kind of analysis do we get so that we can budget correctly?
So
we're gonna have to budget for this.
Yeah.
I mean, where do we come up with a figure to budget?
They provide that based on the strategy, yes.
Yeah, and that's all prepared, ready to go. So the other piece is it's flexible, right? We did it 25, 26, we almost combined, and we looked at 41 vehicles replacing. And the analysis 25 was 30 vehicles. And again, that is just an analysis. You all, the team, the budget, you all are always in full control. If we say, hey, this is way too aggressive, we need to start with 10 vehicles this year, we can absolutely do whatever the county decides to do. We have the flexibility. So this is more of an aggressive approach, but all of that's mapped out and it's broken out per department. So all of that's ready and it's from a budget perspective.
What does that do for our insurance?
I always recommend that you speak to your insurance agent. Some of the vehicles are liability only. I'm assuming, I don't know that for certain, but I always recommend talk to your agent. In my experience, very rarely do you see a drastic increase in insurance costs, given the safety features of the vehicles, the lane change assist, and a lot of different safety features that are in there. That's why I always recommend you talk to them, see it, and there might be an incremental increase, but typically it is not significant. We will be listed on the certificate of insurance as an additional insured on any of the enterprise vehicles. That way, if there's a total loss, we're made whole. You get any excess equity, if you will, and then we would be the ones to go find that next vehicle, bring that unit in from one of those used or stock type scenarios.
So do you offer a discount on replacement units using your buying power based on the acquisition value?
No, we have very strong relationships with the manufacturers, and sometimes we're able to leverage that based upon the quantities, yes, that you're doing. If you go over 25 in one single year, we get large bid incentives. You all get government incentives, which gives you extremely strong buying power. So I like to be transparent about that on the front end. You guys buy these vehicles really well, and we're able to leverage that, and we're able to analyze that across the board with all the manufacturers. If you're married to Ford, you're married to GM, that's okay. But if we have flexibility, as I've seen, the team seems to be pretty flexible there. We're able to lay that out every single year and analyze what's the lowest cost of ownership, what's the best incentives this year, and then push the manufacturers through those large bid quantities for more. But I don't want to say that you get to capitalize on our millions of vehicles that we're buying. You get to capitalize on our data, our knowledge, our resources, but it's not enterprise truly, it's not our quantities. But we will ensure that the most cost-effective approach is being done and you're getting the greatest incentives that you possibly can.
How long has Hillsborough been?
It's only been,
Short term.
well, they only recently received vehicles. I don't know how long they've been
It
working.
was probably 6 months to a year ago, and I started that partnership with Matt over there, but yeah, they just recently received vehicles, and Lyons was right about the same time. They have had some vehicles on the ground. Great Bend School District's been with us for a while. Came through that path as I came from Pawnee this morning, so, but there's a lot, Cherokee, Crawford, Ellis, Geary, I've had those entities for many years, and then we have a tremendous amount of cities around the Wichita area, certainly in the Kansas City market as well.
Any counties in central Kansas, any counties other than Sedgwick County on it?
Yeah, Cherokee and Crawford a little bit more. Geary, it's kind of out Junction City is Geary. Ellis, Rooks County, cities, Liberal, Garden City, Hayes.
I'm just wondering why counties are lagging behind cities.
Yeah, that's my fault, to be.
Cities typically have a lot less traveled miles too.
So, just to give you a little history on it, we've been around for 65, 70 years, and we actually started on this side out of St. Louis, Missouri. And we started on the fleet management side. It was enterprise leasing back in the day. About 10 years ago, we were very heavy in the commercial space for many, many years. And then about 10 years ago, we got into the government space really heavy, and we started doing the pursuit type vehicles. So that escalated us into the government space. I started exactly 10 years ago. I started getting heavy in the government space in this market about 7 years ago. And quite honestly, cities were a little bit easier to partner with just from a decision-making standpoint. So cities and school districts were a little bit, we were really heavy in that space. And now we've got a ton of traction. There's many other counties. I've got probably 10 to 15 other counties that I'm working with at this given moment and working to get those partnerships on board. So we are getting very heavy into the county space. The program operates almost identically with our cities and our versus our counties. We still have the same philosophy strategically, but that's kind of a little bit of the reason why we really weren't. We had government entities, we just weren't as heavy as we are. At this point in time, I'm about 90% government, and that's pretty much all I do at this point. I really enjoy the government space. We've had extreme success here in Kansas in the government space, and that's kind of what led to this. But we do have partnerships with counties, and we're growing exponentially. We do others, like I said, the unified governments, the Jackson County, Missouris. We do the state of Missouri. So a lot of similar type entities.
We like to do business locally.
Yes, sir.
So you're saying maintenance could be done locally on them?
Yeah, great question. We always want to keep the local communities involved. We deliver our vehicles as often as possible to the local dealerships. In your, I'll give you a quick stat here. You're buying about 3 vehicles historically on average at most per year. And then this year, if we deliver 32 or we deliver the 41, all of those units could come through the local dealership. So from a delivery standpoint, we keep them involved. And we can also buy from that. If there's a immediate need or anything like that, we're happy to buy with them. We have partnerships with the dealers in town. But yes, maintenance, fuel is also, I'm going to fill up at the local station as we pull out of town. A lot of different ways that we keep the local entities and business and dealerships and maintenance providers intact, and we want to do as much of that as possible. And what we find is most of the dealerships actually look at us as a partner. I partner with a tremendous, like I said, we bought from 15,000 of them last year, but we want to work with them as much as possible. And what they typically find is they often make more money through our program as there's some changes in the philosophy.
Because you tell the dealer what to order.
We deliver that, they get a courtesy delivery fee when we deliver that vehicle to them.
We don't have to go in and pick out what we want.
Correct.
You tell us what we want.
And I work with the departments to make sure that we have the right option. For example, Sheriff has specific features that they have to have. And then we also work with the aftermarket vendors. What's the Hillsboro, the flatbeds, right? We do a lot of business with them as well, and there's just another area of opportunity not only for you all, but the other communities and the other entities. There's other a lot of connections that we have with these types of entities, Hillsborough Industries, right? Yeah.
Circle D.
Do we know what our current fleet operations cost per mile is on all our vehicles?
We don't have it analyzed that way at this point.
I'm just trying to figure out a way we can compare apples to apples and figure out what we're doing currently cost us per mile versus what this will cost us per mile to find out.
So I can expand on that a little bit. I, again, do this analysis darn near daily at this point, but what I find is a lot of the data is very hard to combine. We can certainly pull budget reporting and whatnot, but on a per unit basis for that given budget year, it's very hard. So in the analytics, we try to use conservative estimates and assumptions. What we did, in the analysis that I put together here, looking at like for like, all things equal, we took those 50 vehicles. The estimated purchase cost for those 3 vehicles with equipment was about $137,000. So that's your capital and equipment budget for those 3 vehicles in today's dollars. The equity coming back from the oldest 3 vehicles in the fleet was about $1,500. The maintenance cost, based upon a current cycle pattern of 16.67 years, was $145,000, and your fuel cost was $163,000. Now, that's based upon the estimates that we had at this point in time, $3.50 per gallon, 11,200 average annual mileage, a lot of assumptions that are going in there. This is in no way perfect, but we leverage this to try to get as close as possible based upon very few entities truly have down to the dollar reporting for these vehicles. So your total fleet budget was $445,000 essentially. With those 32 vehicles coming in, still operating 18 client-owned vehicles, getting the equity from those sale proceeds, and then rotating vehicles in and out of the fleet, our maintenance starts to drop pretty drastically. Our fuel comes down by about 20%. Year one, your budget with those 32 vehicles was $337,000. So if we took the difference there, you're looking at about $107,000 savings in that year. Now, there are other years that cost you more money than what you're doing today. But over the 10-year span, there's an estimated $101,000. Okay? So, total savings. Now, what I will tell you is every year that's going to change. But now we're starting to collect your data and we're using your hard numbers. If we do 32 vehicles, then we're collecting that on those 18. And we start to leverage that data to truly bring it to life for you. Okay? And maybe we do 10 vehicles, maybe we do 30 vehicles, maybe we flip the whole, whatever that looks like, we're going to start tracking that data. So this isn't an us versus you. This is just trying to get close to what you're doing from a historical average budget standpoint. And then if we implement it and this worked out perfect, which it won't because things are going to change, in a perfect world, this is what it would look like. And there is a savings and there's a massive change in philosophy.
Would it be improper if Jeff gives us some comment how this would affect his sheriff's fleet? We have some ideas.
I guess my answer is this, I really was kind of hoping Hillsborough would be a little further into their program to see how it works. I do have a bit of concerns of our dealerships in our communities that we buy from. I'm concerned about them, I'm concerned about the overall purchase. I haven't sat down and talked to them completely yet. Do I think it's a good program? I do. I'm not saying it's not a good program. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. But I look at it as how am I going to afford to budget your taxpayer dollars at $150,000-$60,000 every year just to get enough vehicles to keep us running. And if we end up going down 2 vehicles, I don't know how I'm going to stay up and running. The other problem we run into is if I have a vehicle go down, where do I get another vehicle? I mean, is the taxpayer willing to fork out another $60,000 and $70,000 actually time I get it equipped and get it on the road? And can you find one? We've had problems finding one. With these guys, we're not gonna have a problem finding them. I mean, they're gonna have them right at our feet every time we need them, from what I understand. I've reached out to some other counties have used them. They're saying it's working for them. So that's kind of where I stand at right now.
And with Jesse over at Hillsborough, he did say something about what it cost to equipment, which they could get the equipment installed themselves. And it was quite a bit more to buy them fully equipped and had no control of the resale value with the equipment in it at the end if it's on a shorter.
And you can sell your vehicles as is and without us too, if there's flexibility.
But that's a question that's up in the air of how that will work in time with what they're doing.
Exactly. Now, yeah, you gotta look, I mean, we look at the cost of buying a vehicle. I think I'm spending about somewhere around that 49 to 50 range, 55 range for vehicles right now. That's unequipped. We're gonna end up dropping $9,000 to $10,000 worth of equipment into them before I can even make them road ready and be safe to get on the road. So.
That'd be a minimum figure and it could be more if there's restraints and whatever else put in them, if I'm understanding the process. Not every patrol car needs to do with that.
I'm like everybody else sitting in the room. I mean, I'll say it out loud. We don't know what this looks like until we implement it. It's the way it works. We do know what we're doing now. We know where our money's going. We know we're taking care of our dealerships. The little that we buy, I mean, I don't think I really impact Hillsborough Ford a lot. But I impact them in a way, other ways too. And the friendship, the networking it takes to be a sheriff in the county. I don't want to lose that process. But I'm also conscientious about taxpayer dollars, and if we can save some dollars, we need to save some dollars. And that's what the bottom line is.
So, not hearing anybody totally opposed to learning more. Okay. Ask Tina to go ahead and work with you and bring us some more, like,
Bring the
some
specifics.
more numbers that we can actually play with, see, think about. When we get closer to budget, we can start, really thinking if we can make this float, we can really benefit the county.
The 3 vehicles you got for the sheriff's department. You said you had 3 vehicles quoted out.
So that's what you have historically bought on an average budget.
So should we do some road and bridge truck pickups?
So I think that the direction that I'm hearing that the commission wants us to go is to get a little bit tighter on our numbers and a strategy of what it looks like, what we're budgeting now, what it would cost under the replacement model that they are going to work up for us, and then let you look at that.
Some of the 20-year-old pickups.
Right, it would be basically.
The keep.
And I would like to take the recommendation, just make sure that we talk with the dealerships too. Absolutely. Make sure that they are.
And I have talked also with the city of Hillsborough, with the administrator, about kind of what their experience has been, and I can talk specifically with the dealerships, but from what I'm hearing, the dealerships were satisfied as well, so.
And they were in the loop in the starting of the Hillsborough, and I always recommend to do that. And quite honestly, those relationships are still intact. And, I'm happy to have any conversations as directed by you all with those dealerships, with the local vendors, anything of that sort. We want to be part of the community. We want to be involved with them, and absolutely want to keep those relationships. From a budget standpoint, Sheriff, the other piece to add is if we can implement that equipment reserve fund, that helps to offset some of those future concerns and makes the budgeting a lot easier as we go through capitalizing on that.
And we've already started a transition on that a little bit with our budget.
Yeah, if we started allocating.
Yep.
And every piece of is a piece that every one of these businesses need to stay alive. It's just, it doesn't have to be their whole sales, but it has to be part of their sales. And in order for us to have amenities, we have to keep them in our thoughts.
Definitely.
Take care of them when we can.
I fully believe that there will be more revenue going through those businesses through this, but I 100% agree, and we've got a lot of flexibility to customize it the way that you want it. So, but absolutely, I'm 100% on board with that.
I'm going to leave it with Tina, working with you a little bit more, and we need to probably move on.
Yeah. The sheriff needs to give you a quick update.
We need to be executive.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate that.
Sorry, excuse me. I just need to give you guys an update. We had something develop over the weekend. We've had some cattle that have gone stray. Probably the 230th, between 230th and 240th on Quail Creek in Remington. Just straight up Remington Road like you're going to Pilsen. We have been in contact with every cattle owner up there that we can find, and nobody is laying claim to these cattle at all. And at today's prices, that's a shocker. So I wanted to give you the heads up. We tried to gather them yesterday. We got 4 of them caught. They're wild. They broke a 5-wire fence, brand new 5-wire fence down.
Part buffalo.
I'm wondering, and then part gazelle. So I've made arrangements to have them hauled to El Dorado. I've talked to the El Dorado sale barn. They're gonna house them for us for 21 days like state statute is. They're supposed to. We'll have to advertise them 7 days prior to the sale. We don't have to advertise them the whole time, just 7 days prior to the sale of the cattle. That number will go from 4 to hopefully 9. We get them all caught. I don't know when we'll get the rest of them caught. We're gonna work on it. I'm even gonna have to hire some cowboys out to probably go out and sling some ropes and get them caught. Our landowners are upset out there because their wheat's greening up and these cattle are destroying their wheat, so we need to get them off their wheat. That's our responsibility. So how it's gonna work, I just wanted everybody to be heads up on this, is we'll take them, we'll do 21 days. I've got to hold the state livestock investigator. He's gonna meet me down there when we get the cattle down there. We're gonna see where there's any brands. We're gonna check for any identification on them whatsoever, see if we can trace them back. Meanwhile, they'll stay down there, they'll be housed down there. We will advertise them 7 days prior to. As soon as they're sold, the money will come back into our stray cow fund here at the county. And then that's when we get the money, we'll be able to repay the people who either helped haul or gather the cattle and the damages on the wheat. And the people aren't asking for a gross amount of money for the wheat. They really more than anything want them off. And then we'll hold that money for 6 months. We're gonna hold that money for 6 months, as if nobody comes and claims them, then that money will be released back to the state. So that's the way the state statute reads it. But I just wanted to give you guys a heads up.
These
in case
cows?
there's any, huh?
Are these cows?
We are ranging from old cows with couple of cows with calves clear to 600-pound intact bulls. Yeah. So, and we've brought the landowners who live out in that area, and none of them have claimed them at all. So.
What's that area again?
It's gonna be between 230th and 240th. They're gonna be bounced between 230th, 240th, and Remington and Quail Creek, kind of right out there in the middle. By the old gas plant, but just to the west side of that old gas plant there on Remington.
Cracker plant.
So, if you hear any grumbling, that's what it's gonna be about. So, just a heads up. You got any questions about it? Everything right? Did I say it right? Okay. All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you. Good luck, everyone.
The other way around. Stole. Normally we don't get cows dropped off. I think my pasture was empty. I don't know. Somebody's not claiming them. There might be something wrong. Shannon? Sorry we're late, Shannon. Exciting topics.
Sometimes that happens. Okay, so I'll just give a little bit of background. During the planning and zoning at the February 10th meeting, Commissioner asked for me to attend the next meeting to discuss the enforcement of the CUP of the Sunflower Wind Energy Center. And then on February 18th, we discussed the conditional use permit compliance of the project regarding the blinking lights. Olmsted and Jantz stated the ADLS lighting system is in compliance with the FAA regulations and all county requirements. There's a warranty issue being dealt with, and the construction company should be out to fix the blinking lights within the next couple of weeks. After much discussion, the consensus of the board is for Spencer to send a letter via email stating the board would like to hear from Sunflower, or AKA Orsted, to explain and see progress or look into some legal determination or action. So, Tina, Spencer, County Administrator sent an email to Orsted and said that our county commissioners have been fielding complaints about the blinking red lights in the Sunflower Wind Project area. Ms. Olmsted has reported for quite a few months that the ADLS lighting system, while installed, has not been functioning properly. And for those of you who are not familiar, ADLS is aircraft detection lighting system. So normally the lights would not be blinking during times that there are not aircraft or bird migration or weather conditions that would affect visibility to aircraft. So, however, because this has been dragging on for some time, the board is getting concerned and they would like to hear from Orsted on the matter as soon as possible. So Orsted responded and is present today with representatives. Jay Sherwood, operations manager, is Danny on? Okay,
Danny Greer.
all right, sorry. Danny,
Sorry.
Danny Sears-Greer and Zoe Weinstein, you're with Assets Management?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then Josh Svati, and I'll let you speak to which organization you're representing today.
And can I kick it off then, or?
Okay, so yes,
Yeah.
Can I hand this over to them and let them
Yes.
speak to the situation? Okay.
Thanks. I am Joshua Swati. I'm here today on behalf of the Advanced Power Alliance, of which Orsted is a member. I appreciate the introduction to the situation and came down today. I am typically in Topeka during the legislative session, but came down because I wanted to help explain the genesis behind why ADLS is even in the conversation. We had a bill that we put together, I say we, the legislature put together and passed in 2023, Senate Bill 49, because almost everyone, including wind operators, no one really loves the red blinking lights. They are an FAA requirement that needs to be there. But there are the beginnings of an industry that can allow them to run intermittently at best. That is an ADLS system. And so as that conversation began in Topeka, we said, well, can we put a bill together that would eventually get the wind farms in Kansas shifted over to ADLS systems? There are only 2 companies that really provide ADLS systems, and so as we were putting together the legislation, we tried to design it with some flexibility in mind, with the understanding that, one, as a state with 45 operating wind farms, when you begin to mandate ADLS systems on all those wind farms, that's going to inundate those 2 companies, because when I say there's only 2 companies, I mean the only 2 companies in North America providing ADLS technology. And then 2, anytime you put in a system like this, it's going to take a calibration period. So the way the law was structured was we were saying that any new wind farms, and new meaning that they would get their permits after July 1 of 2023, would need to apply to the FAA to see if you could even have an ADLS system. Because the FAA, again, is the final arbiter on this. And if they feel like you are in an aviation traffic way that should not have a system but needs to be blinking all the time, they could come back and say, thanks for applying, but you need to have blinking lights all the time. But the law said you at least need to apply, see if you could have it. If they say you can have it and issue you a permit, then you have 2 years to get that ADLS system installed. And then even at the end of those 2 years, if it is not functioning properly, then at that point, the installer, not the operator of the wind farm, but the installer of the company, who has the incentive to get it operating, is required then to send a letter to the Aviation Division of the Kansas Department of Transportation every 3 months explaining why they don't have the system up and running. That was for wind farms that were permitted and commenced operations after July 1 of 2023. Sunflower was actually before that, and for wind farms that came online before that, you are required to, after 2026, July 1 of 2020, or I think it's January 1st of 2026, at the point at which you repower, at that point, you must make an application with the FAA for an ADLS system. And the reason I came down today to explain the situation with Ørsted is that Ørsted was under no legal requirement whatsoever to apply to the FAA for an ADLS
Yes, you
system.
were, because you had an agreement with me.
Randy.
And the situation was Ørsted wanted to, or whatever the arrangement was, Ørsted made the decision to apply to an ADLS system despite any state statutory requirement to do so. They made that decision as a business or whatever the situation is, but there's no state statutory requirement based on their timeline. And so that's what I can speak to in terms of Senate Bill 49 and the backstory of this. But I want to reinforce again, the statute was designed in place because they knew that implementing these ADLS systems would take time to calibrate and then get them working correctly.
So, thank you for explaining that, Senate Bill. So part of the resolution for the Expedition Wind, AKA Sunflower Energy Center, one of the conditions, we saw this technology coming and we wanted to make it a condition of their specific conditional CUP. So it was, lights may only be installed if required by the FAA and must be red lights unless otherwise required. The applicant will apply for an ADLS system, and if granted by the FAA, such system shall be used. So from that aspect, you know, it's fairly vague. Our regulations stated that it needed to be installed and it shall be used. So, I think that the commissioners were wondering, you know, what has taken so long. There's been a long period since, you know, the CUP was granted, the construction happened, the lights were up, and I know that they've been dealing with a warranty issue, so I know they would like to have an explanation for that.
They will speak to that. The only other thing I would say, and sorry, I had a 2 o'clock that I pushed back but the only other thing I would say is that the state law, which is wonderful to know about the county CUP, the state law does put the impetus back on the installation company under the understanding that they are the ones that need to get that operating. Of course, it's also part of your CUP, but that's the way the state law is structured.
Okay, so there's definitely some good news. I do got some printouts here, if you guys would like to take a look at that. So over the last few months, we've been able to actually get some folks in to start working through some of the issues that we've had.
So online, Jace is speaking.
Jace Sherwood, I'm the manager here for Sunflower for Ørsted. So it's been a process since it got started. There's been a little bit of a issue with some contractors and getting them to go ahead and mobilize and get to working on this issue, as well as working through various technical issues with this being a newer technology. All of that said, here over the last couple of months, we've actually got folks deployed out to the site. You'll notice there's the screenshot of the front is actually the ADLS communication system. So it's kind of a 2 to 3 part system. So you have the DTEC who operates the radar system, and then you have the manufacturer of the light, which in our case happens to be TWR. So DTEC and TWR, as well as the construction company, worked with us to eventually come to this conclusion. So we got our system reconfigured, which does require shutting each unit down, going to each individual unit, and then accessing the network switch at each individual unit up tower. So we've been able to do that. So we've been able to configure, change a few communication protocols, and get the equipment to where it is actually communicating with the system. The system itself, the DTEC radar system, is functioning, and that's actually what those screens are, the kind of emails there in the back. That shows you the amount of time that the system is triggered on and then prompt it to go off. So it functions, but the communication between that system and the lighting system is kind of what's been causing all the problems. So in short, there's a few that have a few errors. We have a couple more that we need to get taken care of as far as getting a few lights replaced, like anything electrical or mechanical. They're subject to failure. Those just got wrapped up this Friday, so I'll be submitting a few more warranty claims to get some of these remaining lights taken care of. I was driving through the park this morning, noticed the park was in fact off as I was coming through this morning. I also work with D-Tech for the sensitivity. Now that we've kind of worked through some of the communication issues between the ADLS system and the actual light itself, and now I have access to where I can actually view the park, so I get both communications from both the lights and from the ADLS tower. I can also help manage and monitor the functionality of our system in case we start to lose any communications with them in the future. So that for the most part is kind of where we're at today, is wrapping up the last few of the lights and then tracking the progress of it, make sure we maintain communications from our ADLS tower to our actual lighting modules up tower. With that, there are a few triggers. So the system is probably a little bit more sensitive than anybody would like. Weather, low cloud cover can initiate the radar. Large flocks of migrating birds can also set it off. And it can also at times pick up traffic on like sunflower or nighthawk. So it's a little sensitive. They'll take it back as far as they can without it posing a risk to any aircraft. So with that, I guess, is there anything?
Well, I think I'll just add really quick to what Jay said. Oh, sorry, thank you. Danny Greer, Asset Management with Orsted. The CUP did say that the system needed to be installed, and it is installed. So we are satisfying that portion of the CUP. And while it is, excuse me, not currently operating as we would like it to, we are making every effort to do so. But to Jace's point, we are working with the contractors, and doing this at each individual turbine does take time. So there are some extenuating circumstances that simply are just out of our control.
Okay, so you guys certified with the FAA on October 17th, 2023, that your ADLS system was operational. Is that correct?
Yes, and as you can see, the ADLS, the detection system is detecting the aircraft, but it just wasn't communicating with the lights.
So so how's come it took 1 year and 5 months to get that fixed?
Well, we worked through, some of the issues came from the lighting manufacturer. They had communication issues with their lights, not wanting to communicate with our tower. So it took them time to come up with whatever that patch was going to be. Then we have to get to a point where we could reset the lights so that way this could take place. They would drop randomly, so it ended up delaying it out even a few more months. So we're like, oh, we had actually got that performed on a handful of towers, and it wasn't functioning. So now we had to go back to troubleshooting whatever the issue was. Multiple contractors, everybody starts pointing their fingers at each other. I mean, and it took a fair amount of time. By then we were rolling into some of the holidays. It got delayed out again. I understand that, I mean, none of us want the lights on, but we have been pushing our contractors to get it done. We're approaching the 2-year mark, and these things, they needed to be functional as soon as possible, and we've been making every effort to get that done.
Well, the 2-year mark, the legislation that you're talking about, the initial legislation that was put forth that didn't pass was obviously not written by the wind companies. This legislation was, which to me is a travesty for the people of Kansas. But that has nothing to do with this permit. This permit was approved in 2019, well before that legislation was a twinkle in anybody's eye. We're kind of splitting hairs. I mean, why would we ask for a system? I mean, obviously in the lead up to this permit, the intent was there would be no blinking lights. So for you to say that, well, we've got it installed, but the lights are still blinking, but we're in compliance, that's a garbage answer. The intent is that these lights not be blinking. You know, D-Tech, maybe they're like you, I've got their sales pitch here, about how great they are to work, and, you know, 6 months, we can have these things fine-tuned and working 98% of the time. Obviously, it didn't happen in this situation. So they are, obviously, they don't care about the people that are impacted by these systems either. You know, to me, for you to have it installed and operational, do you have to notify FAA that it's not operating as designed?
No, default mode is on. So when the system, if it's not detecting, the lights will automatically default on. They have to function and be in that on position. So
you don't have to report to the FAA that, yeah, we got it installed, but it's not operational, it's in default mode.
I mean, yeah, because it is actually, the lights themselves are functioning the way their intended purpose is for the FAA.
Right. But not for the purposes of this cup.
No.
The intent of this cup is it's a light to be off. And so for you to say that you've been in compliance since October of 23, when you certified with the FAA that they were operational is just a BS answer.
Well,
it's funny that, you know, I bring this up on March 3rd, and now on March 10th, all of a sudden they're working. I mean, I was at my house, I watch them every night and every morning. 2 weeks ago on Wednesday, and all of a sudden, boom, they went out. And they came back on, and they went back out. And I've watched them since October of 23, and that's never happened before. It's ludicrous that you sit here and say, for a year and 5 months, we couldn't get anything done because other people messed up. And 3 weeks after I bring it up, it happens.
Also, you know, I'd mentioned that they did say they would have them working within the next couple of weeks at that meeting that we had on February 18th.
They said that back in July as well.
So, we have constant communication.
Can I have records of that constant communication? Can I have records of what you guys talked about the last year and a half?
Oftentimes it's a phone conversation, so.
Do you have any of that documented, so?
Okay, can I finish speaking? So that conversation is usually about things that they may be in compliance, but what we were expecting out of the situation, you know, I communicate that to them. I say, we're having complaints, we're having issues, the commissioners are talking to me, what's going on? They tell me what's going on. Actually, I don't know, let's see, February, January, I believe there was a conversation that Jay said, we're getting to the end of this thing. We have the warranty issue pretty well nailed down. We're going to have men on the ground coming to fix the lights. And then that process started moving forward. So even before this was brought up in the commission meeting, these issues were being taken care of in the background. So I think that it just happened to be coincidence that that's how it rolled out.
Very coincidental.
So
at what point do you expect it to be fully operational and up to the 90%, 98% off the D-Tech?
With the exception of those few that we have right now that'll be getting some lights ordered from TWR, I believe there's, we've got 1, 2, 3, I have 4 lines to get replaced, and then 1 fiber optic that will need to be replaced in one of the towers as well. Once we get that completed, hopefully that should bring us right up to the 98% that they're saying. But some of, like, their DTEC's connectivity and the operation of I don't know, because they're a piece of the ADLS system. They're not the entire ADLS system. They're this system as far as like the radar is concerned. But they're not the lighting module, the manufacturer.
Just wanna echo what Clark said, is the intent of the CUP is that the lights are part of the system in our intent. And we'd like to make sure that that's your intent too.
Well, we're definitely trying to get these lights up and function. We know nobody wants to look at them. I don't want to see them. I want them to be off. I would like everybody to be, satisfied with the performance, especially that performance of the plant. Now, I know it does seem very coincidental, but we have been working with these manufacturers, and that first attempt did not work, which is what drug it out. And then by the time we actually did come to a conclusion for that, we were coming into the holidays and nobody was gonna get dispatched right before the holidays. And then immediately following the holidays, we had a bunch of winter weather.
I do understand interfaces and handshakes and
Yeah, so
I do understand where you're coming from. I just really wanna reiterate, because I think most of the commission at the time, the planning and zoning at the time, the intent was all that, okay, ADLS system, well, we don't know anything about the radar, we know that the lights won't blink, and that's what we know. And that's the part, so it has to be inclusive with the system when we talk about the system.
I think I understand what you're saying. From y'all's perspective, the radar, the lights, the turbines, it doesn't matter. You guys don't wanna look at the red lights.
Yeah. And if we say that the system's working, now it just takes away from your overall belief.
Yeah.
Right? So when the lights don't operate correctly, it doesn't matter if the ADLS system is working. It's what you hear and what you know are two different things, right? So
Yeah, I think that makes sense, and I do completely understand that. Like Jay says, nobody wants to look at them, and I can definitely assure y'all that our intent is the same. We don't want y'all to have to look at the lights. We don't want to have to look at the lights. We do want to do everything possible, and we are doing everything possible to get the system operating to y'all's expectation. And so I am deeply sorry that y'all are fielding these complaints.
Don't come here and say that it's in compliance.
So
If your intent is that they're off, say, we're sorry that they're not off. Don't say you're in compliance.
So from the perspective of the CUP, we do maintain that we are in compliance, but I understand the intent here, and that's what I really wanna agree with y'all on, we do share y'all's intent. We want them to be working, to y'all's expectation, and that is, our goal is to get them there.
So where are we at now? We got 9, 8, 9?
there should be, we have,
Is it just a string or is it a?
no, it's individual lights. There's 4 individual lights, and then there's a fiber that's affecting a couple of them. So we have 6 out of, there's actually 78 lights out there, so 79, so.
And they're just random.
They're just random.
None of them, 2 of them might be the same, but none of them are all like.
So the 4 lights are the ones with the
Yes.
yellow triangles on them?
Yes.
And then the 3 kind of like little red crossed out marks, is those ones with fiber optic issue?
There's 2 of them with a fiber optic issue. The other one is the Met Tower. I've had to pull the control module down at the base. It's actually had to be sent out for reprogramming, and it's not back yet. That's that one in the far corner. We have 2 Met stations too, so there are 2 of the additional towers that we have out there.
There's 3 with red and 4 with yellow.
Good question. Is this system up and running anywhere in the United States at 98%?
Not that I'm aware of.
No, nobody can get it working?
And
So it's just not us, it's everywhere.
yes, it's very new technology, and it's definitely been
Is it 5 people or 20 people trying to get it to work?
for for our
How
system.
many wind farms did it install on?
In Kansas,
No, nationwide.
I couldn't tell you the number nationwide. As far as I'm aware,
I can tell you.
Okay.
So according to DTEC, their analysis of its 80-plus US ADLS installations operating since 2009, which quite a while ago, it's not relatively new technology in my opinion, shows the technology sees on average 97% lights off.
For wind projects?
Their ADLS systems. 80-plus US ADLS installation system.
as far as I'm aware, ADLS systems were not available for wind farms back then. So that might be a different kind of ADLS system.
Radar monitors the airspace around the wind farm for aircraft. When aircraft crosses preset parameter, blah, 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 various designs, ground-based, turbine-based, infield, some systems incorporate secondary sensors such as aircraft transponders. The objective of the technology is to minimize lights off period while maintaining aviation safety. DTEC's analysis of its 80-plus US ADLS installations operating since 2009 shows the technology achieves 98%, 97% lights off. I'm just telling you what they say.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Promotional product.
There again, maybe, anyway.
So nobody really knows.
Now that said, they've worked.
So it's not new technology.
Well,
It may be new to a wind turbine,
yeah.
but it's not new technology. It's capable of functioning at 97% effectiveness. Apparently it is. You know, they say that they come out and they'll assess your site and they develop a system based on all the parameters. So it's something that they say they can do. And so my question again is, how long do you expect it to be before this system?
So it's probably, I just got got everything back on Friday. I have to get the warranty claims submitted on the last few because I just got them at the end of the day on Friday. So I'll have those submitted probably the next day or so. And then I'll give Wanzik a couple of days to pump out a schedule to me as to when we're gonna get somebody and TWR to send us the lights that they'll owe us for the system. Now, I don't know what the actual time frame is of when TWR is going to get that to us. As soon as I have the information, I mean, I would be more than happy to update and pull screenshots from time to time whenever somebody would like. I mean, we do want the system to function. And I mean, like I said, we definitely want it to function. And if there are other questions about it, we can definitely get in that. Or if somebody wants to stop by, like I said, I have access to pull it up. We can take a look at what we're getting for communications.
I have a couple more questions, particularly just since you guys are here regarding
Staying on the ADLS.
well, it's the wind farm. I just have, I'm getting comments, noise. I have questions about your wildlife impacts, interference. You know, I've got landowners complaining that they can't get internet service to their house anymore, and everybody that comes to look at it says it's interference from the wind turbines. I guess I'd like to know who can I direct these people to get those, again, you know, our zoning regulations, this permit says that you're not supposed to be interfering with these things. So who can I have these people call to have those issues addressed?
Absolutely. So we do have a land team at Orsted that works very closely with the landowners with wind turbines. So I'm happy to share their contact information with y'all, and they regularly accept complaints related to the wind turbines So I'd be happy to pass along their information to the commission.
Okay. The sound, the permit says audible noise shall not exceed 55 decibels unweighted at any time measured at the property line of a non-participating property. Within the zoning regulations, it's the project boundary. And so I have some questions. This is the map presented for the protest position for this project. And so when you say that 55 decibels at the project boundary, is that these boundaries?
As far as that goes, I do not know.
I unfortunately am not sure either. That's I have to admit I'm not as familiar with the geography of this area. But that is something that I can.
Project.
Yes, I'm familiar with the project.
Is this the project boundary?
I can't say for certain that all of those, because there's so many islands. I can't say for certain.
Or is that the project boundary?
Hi, Zoe Weinstein, associate at Orsted. We can put you in contact with our permitting team who can walk you through these and answer any of the questions that you have, if you like.
Okay. Because my concern is moving forward, you guys are actively approaching landowners. You're telling landowners that you are, all your neighbors have signed up, you need to sign up before you get left behind. As of last week, you've got a handful. We've got zoning regulations that deal with shadow flicker, that deal with glint. And the first thing in your new easement, you're taking away those rights. So you're buying exclusive easement for electromagnetic, audio flicker, visual, electrical, or radio interference attributable to the wind turbines. So you're buying that right from a landowner and taking that right away from future landowners in Marion County through the duration of your easement. My concern is, we heard the gentleman talk about the setbacks. I think it behooves this commission to move forward in looking at regulations and setbacks that protect Marion County residents. If you look at our current regulations, section 27.
Isn't this Sharon's job to bring that to us?
I will say that
It's our job to send it to her.
Yeah. And
But-
then approve the recommendation or not.
But Article Section 7, the purpose intent of the overlay is to ensure a regulatory means of facilitating wind energy development as a commercial wind energy conversion system within the unincorporated portions of Marion County, and at the same time provide reasonable requirements for submittals of proposals and for the establishment of wind energy conversion system to the officials charged with that responsibility. It's my contention that these regulations need to first and foremost protect Marion County residents. The purpose should not be to facilitate a wind energy development. It should be to protect Marion County residents. Your easement buys that protection from not only the person that signs it, but all future potential residents through the duration of this contract.
Yes, sir.
No.
We can't speak to that. We're not
We-
associated with, or that's not our deal to.
It's all Orsted.
I
We only
understand
work
that.
with the operational sunflower wind farm. There are going to be different folks working on the development of any new potential wind farms. I'm happy to make connections if y'all would like, but to be totally blunt, I don't know anything about sunflower two or any potential landowner easements or contracts that may or may not exist. So I completely understand where you're coming from, and I'm happy to make any.
I guess, keep us informed on the progress. As a commission, I think that we need to, I know we've given Sharon 5, or the previous commission gave her 5 objectives to look into. I think they've looked into 2 of them. I think it's time that we redirect that focus and look at revising our zoning regulations and getting setbacks and policies and procedures in place that protect Marion County, not the wind farms. And if anybody disagrees that Marion County residents should come first, let me know.
I don't. So.
I would like to offer that Orsted supports that as well. We always think that the citizens should come first. I just wanted to make that known.
I do appreciate you guys coming in. Hopefully Sharon's keeping your feet to the fire.
She definitely is. And I understand if, any commissioners ever want any sort of, more direct communication, I'm happy to leave my contact information, and y'all are welcome to reach out to me anytime.
Good. And it needs to be uncomfortable because
absolutely
people are uncomfortable. So we need to be doing our job and you need to be doing yours. So
I live by a philosophy: get comfortable being uncomfortable, because that's how progress happens.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All
Thank
right.
you, Commission.
You have business cards with you?
I'm sorry?
You have a business card with you?
I don't, unfortunately. I realized I left it at my hotel. Do you have them on you?
I have my
Thank you.
Moving up.
Really good company.
Does everyone want one?
What do you have?
Leave one
Just leave the stack.
with Tina, and sure you can scan them in, and we can get them digitally.
Amazing.
You want one? Well, she's gonna scan them.
I collected.
Oh. Well, you can have them after she scans them.
I'll just keep one of each to scan in and you guys pass around the rest.
I just want the digital. I got far too many papers anyway. Alrighty. Anything else as far as planning and zoning, since you're in the room?
Could I request a quick executive session for personnel performance?
Do you have any executives?
Let's see, it won't be on personnel.
Do you have time to stick around
Sure.
or do you need to do it now so you get back to work?
Well, I work for you all.
That's a good point.
Let's do the executive.
Okay, and can we have at least the board, Brad, Tina?
I'm sorry, Board Brad and Tina.
Thank you. For 10 minutes.
Move that we recess into executive session in order to discuss personnel, non-elected personnel performance pursuant to KSA 75-43-19B. Personnel matters, item number 1, non-elected personnel performance. With the board, Brad, Tina,
Okay.
Till,
And Sharon.
and Sharon, till 2.
Oh, I forgot.
Forget my drink. Nice.
Second, Kent. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, out of executive session, no decisions made. I'm going to move that we recess into executive session in order to discuss item number 1, for personnel matters and non-elected personnel performance pursuant to KSA 75-4319B with the board, Brad, Sharon, Tina, until 2:54. With open session rules. Second, all those in favor? Aye. 5-0.
With that other one.
You're good.
I'll be a little second.
Oh, you're good. Okay.
Okay, out of executive session, no decisions made. Anything else for? Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it, thanks.
All right, Marion County Fair, well, let's do the burn res. The fire chiefs are here.
Yeah.
They got other things to do today.
Fires.
Yeah, well, it's calm today, so let's get it done before it gets windy.
Calm before the storm.
Let's get it done before it gets windy.
I know, right?
Yeah, so anybody, Brad?
With the burn resolution, you have the two alternatives. In the interest of efficiency and expediency, we kept it to that. I rewrote a third one. Should neither of these ultimately be something you can reach consensus on, we'll try a third one. But our time is running, obviously, because March 15th is fast approaching. And so I went ahead and did them both so they're passable. Tina made a couple of additional changes to them to assist in terms of just some minor changes. Commissioner Dirk's point about the criminal penalties, that's all been corrected. I made it a Class A misdemeanor because it can go from 0 on up.
Yeah.
And that way we have up to $2,500 and up to 1 year of incarceration. It all runs through district court. Everything else I converted to administrative fees, not penalties, so it doesn't have that feel to it and that taste. And those fees are related and I think are enforceable based upon everything that the chiefs put into that spreadsheet and how they're calculating their fees. I've heard from a lot of people, including yesterday afternoon, 3 or 4, in terms of the fire side of things, with a fairly, I think I'll say it, and Ben, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I know that my last conversation about 11:15 was with Les. He gave me permission to indicate his strong feeling that both of those areas, in the one that was drawn based upon what the chiefs had submitted, should continue to be in there with separate regulatory language on them, and they feel pretty strongly about that, based upon time of burn and some of the other logistics that can occur with those. So I'm the scrivener here, but we do need to get it done if we possibly can. If there's other questions, I'm happy to answer those. I clarified a few points throughout it. We cleaned up the penalty section. All the rest of it is really pretty consistent. I used 5 or 6 counties over the weekend myself, compared what you guys were doing to what they're doing. It's remarkably consistent, and actually they're all different in every county, as I've said before, but the basic elements of this that empower them to implement controls and safety, health, welfare concerns, I think have been addressed reasonably well in here and in a way that is measurable. I also sent to you, and I do not mean for it to be literal. As we go forward, I would like a 1-page handout that we can give to people that will have all the basic points on it. The one I gave you by no means is consistent yet with what we're doing. I just used it and it aggregated some things from the Kansas administrative regs, KDHE, and then ours, as well as several other surrounding ones, so that you can see as an example. Once we pass one, then I can create one and pass it through the chiefs that I think is a bit more accurate and fits what they're looking for. But something that we can give to people so they can say, hey, I gave you the summary. You pulled your permit, here's the deal.
And my intent is to keep that, even if I have to go smaller font, onto one page so they don't have to go, oh, well, I gotta flip the page. So it's easy for someone who's getting out there and wanting to get one done, so that they have something they can work with. So that's the speech on that. We can set that aside for the moment. It was just as an example for right now. But I'm hoping that one of these, we can reach consensus on these and try to get something in place or approved today if possible.
Steve, so,
No comment?
there any, normally I don't have a whole lot of public talk, but it's based on the fire chiefs. They're here. I wanna know what you guys,
We would like to stand with the resolution that we introduced and that Brad has modified to make it enforceable.
Clark, you've had a few.
No. No, but, I mean, U4 can pass it. You don't need to.
Just still just not what you're after, I guess.
Well, I just, back up here to the.
Sent two about the same time.
So this one here is the one that Ben's referring to.
Can I make a quick comment?
Yes.
Part of what the other one, not the one we have endorsed, but the other one, part of the problem is, I mean, there's more than one problem, but part of it is asking dispatch to make a decision. We don't want them to do that. We want them to follow the regulations, the policy. These are the policies. And then if they have to make a decision, then that's beyond their. Yes, absolutely.
Responsibility of our.
Resolution number, Ashley?
Yeah, we.
2508.
I think Les also had some concerns, and you guys, I'm sure, echo those because I've heard it multiple times, about if you have an open burn in a field setting, so in a farmer's desperately wanting to get that done, the tendency perhaps to limit the expectation on the amount of time that may take and how long it has to be monitored. And then that somehow, when you're doing that through dispatch and dealing with those issues, can be a bit of a problem. And we wanted that to be separately regulated.
And then a two-tier structure for grass and for brush piles.
That's what he was trying to stress to me, and he asked me to at least mention that.
So on the original draft that you updated, we did go ahead and update the title to reflect the correct resolution being replaced. And I made some spelling, those are the changes.
The spelling was correct, she's
Spelling
just
and grammar.
messing with it.
Punctuation, that's all.
So you're saying this final burn resolution, final revision, not my revision. You've still got,
I'm looking.
penalties and fees, you still got $500 to $2,500 and 6 months in jail.
No, is that on yours or on the other one?
That's on yours.
And then that, I did correct it, I wonder if she attached the wrong piece, that it should say, and I would ask you to pass it as, we don't specify class A misdemeanor, but I use the penalties, that it is a misdemeanor from $0 to $2,500. I think I put $100 minimum, so at least there'd be
That's
something.
what you did on mine.
Yeah, and then 1 year, that's supposed to be in both of them, that language.
It's in the one, but not.
I apologize if that didn't get on the other one.
Let's see.
You
Trying to find it.
You got a list of
In
information
section 4,
required
it's right, it's on the screen.
from landowners if they're doing a brush pile burn, but you don't specify what.
He sent us way too many.
Well, there was a second one. There was the first one that had 2 attachments, and then there was a second one that had 1 attachment.
That was that summary list, I
Yes.
think, that is.
Summary list you don't concern yourself with today.
Okay.
It will hopefully encapsulate all the requirements the chiefs would like to see people be aware of at the point where they're attempting to get a burn permit and what they're gonna be required to do if they do get one.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the one with the Class A.
I have another question. At this point, we do not have a permitting process. They simply call in for approval.
I created one.
Okay.
And it's got all of the KARs, the things that the commissioner you were looking at in terms of KDHE that would dovetail into this as well, at least would be a good idea. I attached all of that to a burn permit that's, I think, a 1-page. It may spill onto the 2nd page, but gives all the information about location and all the other elements of it. And then I would intend to hand out that form as well as an administrative requirement, or have you guys have it available to give to people to say, well, if you want to do this, this is what you need to consider. Hopefully.
Who issues that permit?
Actually, if you look at the definition of permit, the definition of permission, they're virtually identical.
Yeah, they are.
So you say you're not issuing a permit, when you say you're giving permission, I say that's what's wrong.
It's
Not necessarily.
It was a permit and approved, and
It's approved. Be binding.
it's one and the same. Cause how's a guy gonna get approved and then drive to Marion or?
Yes.
And I'm not saying that you need a written permit, but when you give them approval, that's the same.
To me, that's the permit.
I think that's what he's
We're not
saying.
issuing a piece of paper, I think that's what they're saying.
Okay.
Other counties will actually have a permit number and you'll
Right.
obtain that.
Kind of like a dig safe. You get your,
Yeah, that can always be tracked if it gets out of hand. There's
It's still showing on the one that I
there's
sent.
close fires that also identify which one's which if they're close.
Reference number.
Yeah, that's happened many times.
Oh, yeah.
that's pretty big fire
Should be able
off the town last night.
Let me go to section 4.
Glowed.
There's fuel out there.
Less than 100.
More than 2,500 this week, maximum of 1 year.
Fire terrifies me.
Jail sentence.
Got compressing the misdemeanor A and the.
Okay, I have corrected that, I think.
Everything else is correct. I'm not gonna be.
Anything else, Clark?
Well, I just don't think it's,
Such
violations of cited shall
I wasn't trying to complain, I was just trying to
consistent
make sure
with-
it was clear.
it's, and if you're gonna burn a brush pile, you gotta give the landowner person responsible, you got all this information. Well, shouldn't they have to give that same information for a regular burn?
I defer to them in terms of what they had included in it, but yeah, it's certainly fine with me.
I'm just saying, from the public's perspective, if
For equity reasons, yeah.
You know,
Makes sense.
it makes sense that you ask for the same information from anybody want to do it. That's why I combined them into one section. I think the biggest issue that they have is the 72 hours for a brush pile burn. And personally, I think that can be resolved as a matter of policy, not necessarily because it says that the condition will remain below, very high or above during the estimated duration of the burn. Whether that's 12 hours, 24 hours, or 72 hours, that's a matter of policy.
It's really about fuel type at that point. Your grasses versus your brush. The brush is gonna extend for a period like up to 72 or 46 hours. And we're concerned about downrange. Like that's what we're trying to differentiate on the two different types of burns.
I was just about to say that. That's the reason why I can see them being different.
Your grass is gonna be burned out typically within
an hour.
5 hours. Well, yeah, I mean, there'll be cow pies.
Well, it depends if,
what you have involved, but brush pile is gonna extend at least 3 or 4 days if it's a decent pile. And that's why we're looking down range on that. That's our biggest concern.
This would be a different set of rules.
That's why we want different.
And there is language, right, paragraph 1, the information that they're to give dispatch is, the location, specific travel directions, beginning time, approximate length of time of the burn. So that we are getting information about the grassland burn as well as specific information about the brush pile burn.
So then take it out of both of them, because it's that same information's in the brush pile one too.
What do you,
In
I think
paragraph
it's
one.
more defensible to leave it in.
So,
More is always more.
Yeah.
That's kind of nice.
And I appreciate your intent of trying to make the document smaller, but we need to make it defensible.
We had it in there so it was clear what we needed, what we wanted.
I'm just saying they should have it in there that it's clear what you want and what you need for any type of burn, not just for brush pile burn. And, but like I said, you guys.
What other? I mean,
It is in there.
as far as agricultural burns, these are primarily the two categories, right?
Right. Grass / stubble, crop / grass, and then brush piles.
Because anything else you would have to.
Yes, I do. Look at it.
Yeah, if we do like a training burn, like if we're gonna burn a house or something, then we have to get KDHE approval, and that's a whole other animal.
So it's a whole, it's can't even be considered this application. What was it, the other thing? Brought up Clark, something about cities. We ruled that one out, right? KDHE, cities take care of it.
Municipalities.
Yeah, cause they have to follow a lot more, they have a lot more stringent regulations.
There's been
A city
they pigeonhole the city somehow and,
The county like have been without a permit legally for years.
again, this can be looked at again next year if you guys decide that you wanna pass it today.
Reevaluate it.
Every year, we can see what needs to be changed or.
Right.
Time's ticking right in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
We need to do something this week.
Well, yeah, I agree.
Friday's
You would have to move forward, but I just wanna make sure I understand the concerns before I put my name on it, so.
Sure. As you should.
Updated the penalty section, and Ashley's gonna print updated one.
I got a moment here.
Make a comment. I got a few things, and I should have been out there earlier on this, and I don't, it might be indirectly to the resolution or whatever you're trying to adopt, but I question at what point the dispatch notifies the person that's doing the controlled burn. Because I listen to Scanner a whole lot, and I never hear that come out, that they ask the owner whether it's still controlled or not. And I understand they need to dispatch it out, but I think there could be if they can get a hold of landowners to 1022 the fire department, just to save a little bit of trouble there.
They need to do that.
But the other problem I also have is dispatch, when they do notify you, it shows up as restricted number. Not too many people's gonna answer a restricted number. That needs to be changed. And I think that's why they might not.
Can't call them back, we don't know who to call back.
Right, you can't redial it under restricted number.
Very important.
144.
Yep. How do we know that you called?
And the other thing, real quick, if we know we got prevailing winds coming in, I would think that the emergency management or dispatch, either one, should make contacts with the people that's called in controlled burns within the last week, 2 weeks to just to reinsure them. We got winds to go check the fires. I think they have some responsibility to do that. But I think that might be, I don't know if that'd be in the resolution.
Yeah, that'd be different issues.
Right, but I think those need to be looked at.
Really good ideas.
That doesn't
Especially the
pertain to this
That's
resolution.
something that this dispatch should make those rules.
Well,
Well, we could do it too, but
Can I?
it'd be different.
The 72-hour, there, on the brush files, there is language in there stating that they have to check that, for the 72 hour, all that's all in there. That they do need to.
Until it's cold.
Right, checking it, I mean, that's all in there.
Yeah, but you can have stumps burning out there for a week long.
2 weeks.
And longer.
Yeah.
The root system anyway. But I understand if they're busy or something, but there's a lot of times there's nothing going on in that dispatch. Follow up. And I think it enforces your guys' policy a lot better if you made that contact.
We gotta bring it back into the topic. Thank you. Darvin, thank you. We're gonna stay on topic. This one?
It is right.
I know this isn't the one. I don't know if that's, I don't think it is, because I didn't see that
That's
juggle.
Blame Tina.
Does it say $100?
$100, 2,500.
There we go.
Which is a class A. 1 year jail. Okay. May not be perfect. It may not be what is perfect. All right. I am.
Perfect, you just wanna work on it.
Yeah, well, you always want to aspire to be something.
Aspire to be workable.
We'll be satisfied with a 4-star instead of a 5-star.
All right. So, and we pass this around, make sure everybody gets a chance to look. Section 4 is what got noted and changed that from what we got on our screen. Is there any?
Here's how you get back
I think it's a good idea, probably to check it after we've got it. Right, so it's working.
In like January, mid-January, once you guys get it set up.
Yeah.
CRP burning is February 1 typically, weather depending.
Sorry, guys. I get old.
No, that's fine. Yeah, you can rest assured that the Chiefs Association is gonna be talking about this at every meeting. You know, how this is going, what our thoughts are, you know, what changes we might wanna introduce, or what things we might wanna keep in there.
What we're hearing from the public.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And then that's what it's all about. We're hearing from the public too.
Does it have a map included with the quadrant system in it?
Everybody see it? All right. This one we're gonna go with. Motion for the resolution number 2020, 20-08.
2025.
2025-08. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
A motion. Is there a second? There's a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Aye. 4 in favor, 1 opposed. There.
We gotta sign it now.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
It's the second to the
I
last
was about
page,
to write the number on.
because the appendix is back.
Not that I don't want you to have a good resolution, I just don't think that's as good a resolution as you could
I
have.
understand. I understand, yeah.
I
And
don't
we'll work with you and we'll try to get
I
it.
don't want you to think that I
No, we had a conversation and I know where you're coming from.
I want you guys to be able to serve the county to the best of your ability. I just feel like there's some things there that could have been better.
You're doing your duty.
I'm doing my
I
duty.
appreciate it. Thank you all.
Yes.
Come back soon.
You won't get rid of us that easy.
This guy's getting ready to go get busy. I didn't look at the signature page. Moving on. County Counselor.
You have brief executive session, potential litigation, please.
10 minutes. 15 minutes.
I always recognize between 5 and 10. I'd say 5, but it depends on if you have questions.
He uses a lot of words. I would
Yeah,
say
he does.
Let's say 15.
I move that we recess into executive session in order to discuss potential.
Attorney-client privilege, there's a potential litigation.
2, consultation with an attorney. Privilege. Potential litigation. Pursuant to KSA 75-4319B. Item number 2. But Brad, the board.
Tina.
Until 3:32. 3:32. Second. All those in favor? Aye. 5-0.
You guys want to have that discussion?
Okay. Run.
Alright, executive session, no decisions made. Have anything else?
That's it for today.
Okay. We need to go back, cause my bad. The 2 o'clock discussion about the Marion County Fair buildings. I think I know what it's about, but I didn't put it on there, so.
Commissioner Becker asked for that to be put on.
Okay.
We've talked about that west building in the past. I had a chance to talk with Brian Clinda, he's a member of the Fair Board. That building basically is not being used at all. In fact, he said they chained the north door shut because something's wrong with the north door. But, I mentioned to him, we have this emergency management equipment we're paying fairly good rent on. If there was some way that the Fair Board would work with that, he said no, he didn't see any problem. Now, we have supported the fair in the past. I don't know that we actually have a budget line item for the fair. We do have, and in the past when they've come in with maintenance and that, we've helped out with that. But, depending on how much we would need to do, I guess we'd probably have to fix the north door. Come up with some type of monthly rent or something like that. I don't think they're looking at anything too big. I just think probably in the best interest of our taxpayers to try to get that stuff located. And the way Brian talked, I don't think, he didn't act like that thing's even been used in the last year. Well, that makes no sense. We might as well utilize it.
One of the last events was the Mennonite Museum auction a couple of years ago.
Now they've got the venue with the other building being all air conditioned and all that. Nobody's gonna wanna use that. So I just, wanted to know what the commission's thoughts were try to pursue that or not, or just bringing it to you.
Do they still store anything in there like those,
Partitions.
yeah, and this, and some, there was some kind of seating, stacked seating and some stuff.
He'd mention anything about anything in there, but I can't tell you, I didn't go in.
And that same equipment's been in there in the past.
I'm sure there's all kinds of treasures.
Yeah, I wonder. Used to be anyway.
I'm gonna stay out of this one, cause I don't wanna look like I'm kicking the county out, and I don't wanna look like I'm making money off the county, so I'm gonna let you four decide.
The only thing is, you know, the south door, well, both doors need to be made bigger. Cause it's hard to back the trailer in there.
There was an
You
issue.
know, this width.
Yeah, but there was something about one, when we were there discussing it with the other building, there was some other issue.
North door's too short.
That's what it was.
And that's the one that they're having an issue with anyway, so, you know, well, there would be some money need to be spent to fix that door, or widen it, or heighten it, whatever. But, you
Takes
know,
two people to back in a trailer.
you know, I said, well,
It is city-owned property under the building.
City owns it.
That whole section, I mean, the golf course,
City owns
all the
land.
fairgrounds,
the land under it.
The county owns the building.
golf course, airports, all.
Insurance.
That's
We
all.
insure it.
Okay, we already paid it.
Yeah, we pay the insurance on it now.
County has built the buildings and maintained them since 60 years.
Conception, I think.
I can remember as a small child, the fair being downtown Hillsborough. And
But I mean, what's your
our
thoughts?
first market steer was,
Move our stuff over there, pay them $500 a month and fix the door, or leave it where it's at? I'm just bringing it up,
Spend
because I
$10,000 to.
We own the building?
Yeah.
we own the building, the city owns the land.
under,
Who do we pay the rent to?
Well, it would, I don't know that it'd actually be rent, maybe it'd be a donation to the fair.
We used to pay rent.
Right, so that's really something that is a little bit confusing
It is.
because we own the building already. And if they're not,
How can we pay rent on something we own?
right, so I have a little bit of a
They were using their
problem
dirt.
paying rent to them, at least more than what we were paying them before. You know, cause I think we were paying $300 a month before. And then we had to move.
Yeah, I don't know what that amount, it'd be basically a donation.
you know, it's probably our responsibility to maintain the building. That's what was set up from the start, is we own and maintain the building. Utilities, I think, are all under our jurisdiction.
Did he say, can they use it at all?
He said he didn't think it'd been used at all last year.
If they used it at all, you could always go ahead and justify some small fee for exclusive access to the building, because right now it's mutually accessible, the Fair Board, county, et cetera. But beyond that, I agree. I don't know that logically we would want to pay much in the way of rent. You own the building.
Since the car dealer left, nobody uses it.
Right.
So there is one, you know, this is something that has kind of been on my radar for a long time, but it's not anything that I have ever really had the opportunity to research. But there was some sort of a, I think there was like some sort of a 50-year lease to the fair. And so I don't know the status of that, and we need to really, the paperwork that I looked at, I can hardly read it, it's so faint, you can't really see it, and so.
Well, and when we last were doing it with the other building, they couldn't produce that.
Yeah,
No one had it.
we have it,
Your tire fit in there?
but it's hard to know, it kind of, we really need to figure out where that all
Fit in
stands.
there?
Or redo it. if-
Redo it, yeah, renew it probably. So just so you all
I think
know,
there's one elephant, the radio tower.
I'm just bringing it up. If you don't wanna do it, that's fine.
I think we need to pursue it. I mean, it makes perfectly logical sense to me. We own the building if we can make it work. Let's do it. Let's look into it anyway.
The door has to be fixed anyway, and there's gonna be costs involved.
Yeah.
So I wanna try to stay out of this, but I don't know if anybody heard what Dave said.
The radio tower.
Hmm.
Doesn't work, right?
Kinda. It's 60 foot long, no, it's
That's what
50
Marcy
foot
told us,
long.
they said it wasn't operational.
Needs a part.
Why do we care where that thing sits?
Exactly.
doesn't even belong to us.
Find out who it belongs to and send it back to them.
They won't take
They
it.
don't want it.
Nobody wants it.
Sell it.
Been trying for years. It belongs to the state.
Belongs to Homeland Defense, actually.
Whatever region we're in.
I mean, those things are kind of the dog of the past anyway with the new technology and emergency. You know, communications. One of these days we'll all just have a Starlink.
Marcy and Tina have been looking for years, trying to get rid of it.
And I don't think the city of Hillsborough is going to give us the land under.
I didn't know Kent brought this up. I was under the assumption that you did, so.
I just happened to run into Brian and I just asked him if he'd talked, if Mike had brought anything up.
Mike had mentioned something about the fair, so I figured it was coming from him.
I think it'd be a good investment. Spend $5,000 and fix both doors. We need to get rid of the radio tower. Cause the county could use
Really
it.
don't know what it's gonna cost to fix the doors, especially if you put bigger ones in. Then you're talking about some
$5,000 may not do it. I don't know what garage doors cost.
Leases cost us over.
Well, could we draft a letter to the fair board and tell them we're offering
Last year's lease
$300
is
a month and
almost a little over.
take it over and fix the doors?
I'd like to get a
Whatever
quote.
they have in there that's fair, they'd have to get out.
I'd like to get a quote on garage
Or at
doors.
least as a preliminary form of negotiation, this is what we are considering. And then, exclusive access to use it, you know, other than during the fair. We're paying, if you're paying something, you're getting something beyond the fact that you already own the building.
I'll leave it up to your direction. For you.
I'll make a motion that we direct our county council to draft correspondence to the Marion County Fair Board with our offer $300 a month and maintenance to the doors for usage of the building.
You wanna put a 5 or 10 year time on it?
I don't know.
I can leave some elements of it open to negotiation.
That'd be my motion.
I second it.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
I abstain. I think it's good, wise use of taxpayer dollars to move the direction you guys did. I just don't wanna be viewed as kicking out the county. And I don't wanna be viewed as making money off the county, cause I can assure you I'm not.
Park the tower at the self shop. We'll move to Peabody.
Okay. We're done on that issue.
Guess I'm not sure I wanna make a comment of prior person of one department was an issue. That's one point.
Yeah, I think we all know that. Well, most of us know that.
That, well, isn't there now?
Yeah, it's a non-elected personnel, and we probably better leave it there. All right, did the burn resolution board update, did that. Commission comments? Any commission comments?
I'll start with, I could easily be outvoted, but I have no desire to have a fleet maintenance deal unless it's the sheriff's department. With the concern would be the safety at high speed pursuits, whatever, all weather conditions that they go out to keep them the best, safest, newest vehicles that we can keep them in for their protection.
I'm not gonna rule out the food safety, I don't wanna start the debate here until I see the dollars and cents, until I see what it costs our taxpayer, what we're doing to the best of our ability, to the possible savings. And if it doesn't add up, then I'll make my decision. I'm not gonna write it off right now.
Save us on repairs on 20-year-old vehicles.
Actually, a 20-year-old vehicle is a whole lot easier to repair than a
Well,
new one.
yeah.
You can put a button on it.
You can,
Well, we're not gonna go into too much discussion.
you can keep them running.
It's kinda like,
Buy them, wear them out, take care of, buy them new, wear them out, take care of.
kinda like this tower discussion. And a lot of times I think, you ever heard of the rapid radio?
Well, the first question on the tower and height is that, does, even though it doesn't fit through the door, does it fit under the main part of the building?
So the deal with the tower being owned by Homeland Security is, a lot of times, I'm not quite a prepper, but I do believe in kind of keeping some old tech around. Because when things hit the fan, you want to do the things that are gonna save you. It's just my personal opinion on that tower.
I think the pickup goes with the tower.
So, anyway, I'll leave that one alone. Anybody else? Alright, make a motion to adjourn. Second, all those in favor? Aye.
They're gonna do something with the computers.
5-0.
Oh, yeah, on the computers,